Hello. In this video, we're going to walk through how to create a simple response from ERPAG. We'll be crafting an example to return a list of warehouses using an API call from ERPAG. To get started with accessing the ERPAG API, we need to have an API user. We need to set up an API so that we can generate credentials, allowing external access to our system and database. This involves creating a type of API user. We generally use a basic type, which includes an API key and API secret. After creating the API user, the next step is to connect it to your system. Once that's done, move on to the automation and customization section where we have API scripts. You'll find that we have some predefined API scripts in our list. Most of them are inactive because they aren't activated by default. Now, we're going to create a new GET method. This means that someone will send us a request via a service. Let's say, for instance, get inventory list. In this step, we define the URL. By default, it might be app. However, since we're in a test environment, we'll use test app. Here, you need to specify which user account, specifically the API user, will access this database. The URL is automatically populated based on your input. Next, you just need to specify the API user you set up earlier. Since this GET method requires a response, we'll set the response type to JSON. We will then define what the response from that JSON will look like. Using these elements, we'll set up the database access, pulling from the item. We have an item and an option known as reporting. Reporting involves taking a block that signifies a report. This will be an inventory stock list where we define the SKU. You can specify the fields you want to include, such as warehouse, description, and quantity. Don't forget to include the unit of measure. These serve as filters which can be adjusted, and you can also define additional SKUs. Alternatively, you can specify all the warehouses or just the main warehouse. We'll focus on one warehouse for the Get Inventory List main warehouse. It's pretty straightforward. Now, it's essential to define the endpoint. The endpoint must be unique. Once you've defined the endpoint, you can copy it and use it in Postman or any other tool you prefer. That's all there is to it. Next, we perform an API test. Here, we define the API test based on our credentials. This part is already configured for the internal version, and we've received a response on the screen. If you were to use Postman, you'd have the same capabilities. This is the simplest way to carry out the process. Additionally, you can define input parameters here based on the request. For example, if you send parameters for a specific SKU, you'll get a list that returns only the SKUs for the specified warehouse. This aspect is more of an advanced feature.